Happy International Women's Day. Woo! All right, ladies. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here because your story, your message, it is so important for people to hear. There's a lot of people out there that are experiencing things right now that are not going very well for them. Maybe they're feeling down. Maybe they're feeling like they're unworthy. They don't have any value to offer this world. Been there, done that. I'm sure that many of you have gone through that at some point in your life as well. So today, what we're hoping to do is to you, the listener, we want to reach out to you and just let you know that you're not alone, that we're here with you as well. We're here to inspire and motivate you, that all you need to do is take that one step. Just take one step to do what it is that you need to do in order to get to that other side. If you're already on that other side, thank you so much for being here and empowering others to get to the other side. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up the floor for the ladies to share their story. And we're going to start with Dr. Lee Holcomb. And Dr. Lee, I'm going to spotlight you here so everybody can see you. I'm going to put a timer on the clock because we're going to see if she can do it in 4 minutes, y'all. Okay. So Lee, just go ahead and share your story with us. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thanks for this opportunity to celebrate International Women's Day. I am a neuroscientist and I had a late in life ADHD diagnosis. So I'm a neurodivergent neuroscientist. So how did I become a scientist in the first place? It was because I had the opportunity to have somebody in elementary school who was a woman and a marine biologist come in and share her passion for science. So I grew up thinking that scientists were women, actually. So positive early experiences for girls in science are key. And that's part of one of the stories I put out in the book about the evolution of leadership in STEM, women catalyzing change. The other barrier to women progressing as scientists in their career are often your elementary and middle school, maybe high school teachers who think that potentially women are not as good in math. So I had a 6th grade teacher who embarrassed me, but I had to go up on the board and do my multiplication and projects up there. And he told me I would never learn math. I came home crying to my mom and thought I was just stupid. That could have been the end of my science career right there in 6th grade. Fortunately, my mom was my advocate and she went in and said, my daughter can learn this. It's just the way you're teaching. And with lots of tutoring through the years, I made it through all my math classes. Many women experience this, that they are potentially shamed early on about their learning speed, and they may not know that they really have a brain that thinks different. It wasn't until I was over 50 that I found out I had ADHD. And that's because I have a daughter who has been diagnosed. She has ADHD, dyslexia, and dyscalculia, a math learning disability that runs in families. So came from mama here. But what I really want to encourage you to do is to learn about your brain, to learn about brain health. And there's been some phenomenal research in menopause recently to show that throughout your lifespan, your brain function is always going to be changing. Anybody experience brain fog somewhere in your 40s? Yeah, me too. So it's one of those things where you can look at going, well, maybe I'm just failing as a person, or I'm just not good at my job. Or you could really look at the biology and go, maybe I need to look at my brain health. And something we haven't talked about enough, and this is my mission in life, is to help people understand that your brain is shaped by your genetics, your environment, and your experiences, and that throughout life, we can have a neuroplastic brain. You can always learn, and part of what we're going to have to do with the onset of AI is to unlearn our own ways of doing things and grow new pathways that are going to be more functional.
Awesome, Lee. I'm trying to figure this out. Hold on. There we go. That's fantastic. One of the things I love so much about your story, but one of the things I really loved is how you said, like at the beginning, you thought women were scientists, like that was a thing. because our beliefs are shaped by what our experiences are. And I just think that that shows the power of how much we can influence others. We can influence children at such a young age. And so we really need to make sure that we're careful with that. I want to thank you for sharing your story and, discovering your neurodivergence at a later age, and then, adopting that and just like moving forward with it. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Truly appreciate you and everything you're doing in order to help people to tap into their brain and to make the best of their life.
Thank you.
Oh man, that was awesome. Okay, you guys, we're ladies. I heard someone the other day, they said, don't say you guys when you're talking about women. So ladies, single ladies. Okay, Lily, I'm going to bring you up. I got my dancer up there. We got Michelle dancing. Okay, we're going to bring Lily up to the stage now. Lily, welcome. So good to see you here today and excited to hear your story. Go, please unmute yourself so we can make sure that we can hear you. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes on the clock. Lily, please share your story with us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Linda. I am, the caregiver's caregiver. I'm a certified death doula, certified dementia practitioner, and also I am now a certified master grief coach. I believe in holding space for women, especially because we are the majority of the caregivers. We are the ones that drop everything and run anytime our family or our friends need us. And my later life in this new career, my encore career, is about holding space, especially for women as they navigate all these difficult situations with their loved ones, so that they don't feel alone, and so that we can make sure that we are taking care of one another as much as possible, especially in today's world. So I ask our audience to please think of the women you know in honor of International Women's Day. Think of who you love, who you haven't connected with in a long time, who helped you become who you are now, who was the one that you thought about as your role model back in the day when you were having hard days, and give them a call and let them know how much they've meant to you. Let your neighbor down the hall, or if you're in a building, or down the street, if you're in a neighborhood, who's taking care of her husband or her sister or a child that has physical or ability issues, and see what you can do to help them. Take some load off of them in celebration of International Women's Day. And as my parents used to say about Mother's Day and Father's Day, it doesn't count unless you think about them all year long. So don't just hold up the women in your life for International Women's Day. Please hold space for us all and hold space for each other whenever you can. If somebody cuts in front of you in traffic, I want you to give them the grace. Maybe they're late to a meeting. Maybe they forgot something, or their child is about to get on a field trip bus and forgot their permission slip at home. We don't know what other people are going through. So instead of honking and getting mad, say a prayer or wish them well, that nobody bumps into them or they don't bump into anybody on the rest of their journey. We're all in this together, people. It may not always seem like it, especially in today's environment, but I'd like to ask you to hold space for women, especially, but everybody, because we're all human. We all want the same things. And women, especially these days, are very oppressed, and whatever we can do to lift each other up. Please vote. Please run for office. Please help support whoever you can who will help reestablish rights for women to decide everything in their life that they should be able to decide. Everything that a man can decide, we should be able to decide. And I've not heard many women disagree with that opinion. So I ask you to embrace this. Look at this as a challenge. Think of yourself as hope. Think of yourself as grace. Think about yourself as a caregiver, and please try to be a caregiver for the world and your neighbors and your family.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lily. Appreciate that. And I love those questions that you asked. And so if you didn't get those questions, go back and watch this, because you want to make sure you get those questions. And the other thing that you mentioned, you said, let them know while they're still alive. You know, I didn't
Please.
have that opportunity because I didn't take that opportunity, and I waited until after my mom and dad were gone, right? So let them know while they're still alive. Thank you so much, Lily, for your message. Truly appreciate you for doing what you're doing. And we're going to bring up our next guest, who is Michelle. Michelle, my belle. That's the only words I know.
It
Those are the words.
translates beautifully, Linda.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Michelle, you have the floor. I'm going to put 4 minutes on the clock. The time is yours.
Are you ready for the question that will change your life? Are you ready? On the day you die, will you know you truly lived and really loved? This was the question that I asked myself as I walked the journey as my husband passed. Imagine you are asked this question with the power of living your life to the fullest, to your fullest potential. And if you don't have that plan clearly in place, allow me to briefly share my story. Everyone has a story. Thank you for taking a moment to hear mine. I'm Michelle Hoffman. I've had many corporate opportunities to work in life, but when I was a little girl, I dreamed of being in a healthy, happy partnership, of together building a life and a family and a home together. And it took me a little longer than I thought it was going to. What I didn't realize was that I had been observing how relationships work together. And then people say, can you find a needle in a haystack? Will you fall in love at first sight? Yes. If you know what your needle looks like, it's easier to find it. And so when you know what your love will kind of look like, it's easier to find that person for you. So we definitely found one another. We fell in love at first sight, and it was amazing. And together we did build a family, a life, and a home together. And it was perfect until he died. And that left me head of household, sole parent, and you guessed it, single. And I didn't know what to do. And rather than just spending my life fetal position, soaking my pillow with tears, rolling over to the other side, lather, rinse, repeat, I realized that I am still alive. And I would love to continue to live my life to my fullest potential, even though I have had this great experience with this incredible partner who I've lost. I learned how to move through grief, knowing that inviting that incredible emotion in for a cup of tea at the table, I could identify what grief holds so it didn't have a hold on me. Rather, I could honor what I valued in that life experience, and that actually helped me move forward in my life. I learned how to create tools to help me move through anxiety. I learned that as alone as I thought I was, one person cannot be your everything. And so I developed an inspirational advisory board of people who I could go to for emotional support, to be my subject matter experts, people who would be my accountability partners, and those people who would leverage their position for my success. As a result, I did the same thing for my children and other people in my community. And so many people were like, go help them, help them, help them, that I became the widow guide. And that quickly transitioned to becoming a relationship coach. So now when I die, I know I get to really live. And not only do I really love, but I get to help other people find the right love for them, because life is better with good love in it. So on the day you die, you know you'll really lived and you really loved. Wow. What a finish.
That was awesome. It was like exactly perfect. I saw you watching the clock. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get this, she's gonna nail this. That was so great. Can you
Thank you.
please repeat that first question that you asked? When you die,
Will you
what was
know
that?
you really lived and loved?
Well, you know that you really lived and loved. And I love how you mentioned the know what your needle looks like. It's like if you're looking for a needle in a haystack, know what that needle looks like. So when you find it, you don't pass it by and it just keeps going. So yeah, so good. Such a great message, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here at International Women's Day and sharing from your heart your message. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
Okay, so next up, before we go to our next speaker, who's going to be Sanel, I'm going to just share with you that we are a book publishing company. I am the founder and CEO at Action Takers Publishing, and we are one of our main focuses is to help you to share your story in a collaboration book. In the collaboration book, you write just one chapter, you don't write an entire book. So if you thought that, like, you know what, I think I have a story to tell, I don't really know what it is, check it out go to actiontakerspublishing.com/collab, COLLAB. Check out the different books that we've put together that we're looking for authors for. Your story may be fit for one of those. And if it's not for one of those, it may be one that we have coming up. You can always hop on a call with me and talk about that. So what we're going to do next is I just want to take just a quick commercial break there. I'm going to bring up our next speaker, who is Sanel. Sanel, welcome to the stage. Make sure you unmute yourself. And I'm going to put 4 minutes on the clock for you. And I can't wait to hear what you have to share.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Linda. Greetings, everyone. This is a beautiful opportunity to celebrate International Women's Day. I'm Dr. Sanel Bach. I'm a health scientist, and I also am a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. My story is really one of resilience. Even from the day that I was born, I'm the last of 12 children. And yes, I did say 12. And when I was born a preemie, 3 pounds and 4 ounces. So I came into this world for my parents, questionable, is she going to make it? And it was only a question for about half a second because my parents are, particularly my mom, she's a praying woman. And so she embraced the fact that I was here 3 months early and that God had a plan for me in my life. So I say that from the day I was born, I've been resilient. And through many, many obstacles, I've gone through a divorce, I've gone through multiple deaths in my family. There's 6 siblings left out of those 12, and both parents are deceased. And I share all of this as part of my story because there is a brighter side. You see me smiling through it. And there are different strategies that I've used that I love to share with individuals as to how do we overcome these obstacles in our life, whether it's death, whether it's divorce, whether it's work-related, career-related, family-related, or just relationships. And so part of my story is sharing that sense of resilience, sharing different strategies as a health scientist as to how we can overcome obstacles. And just one strategy that I love to share with you with regards to International Women's Day is that of mindfulness helping us to overcome obstacles. Our sense of being present, dropping into who we really are, showing up our authentic self, really understanding how we can make a difference in this world. And my mindfulness practice has helped me to do that, being present in this moment. Mindfulness really involves three things: an intention, our attention, and our attitude. And I'll say that again. What is your intention? Where is your attention? And what is your attitude? And so mindfulness is just one strategy. However, I feel it's a very powerful strategy. It's a very powerful practice and helping us to be able to drop into that loving presence, that loving awareness that's always with us. And you may think, oh, I can't meditate. This is something I've heard about. I simply can't do it. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing with me. I'm going to ask you to inhale and exhale. And if you can do that, my friend, you can practice mindfulness. It's always with us, and it's as simple as the breath. It's the reminder of a loving presence, a loving awareness that'll help see us through and help us to build that muscle of resilience. And so really my story from the day I was born to my practice as a health scientist, as a coach, as a professor, as a practitioner. It involves that sense of resilience and sharing that with every single person that I come in contact with. So it's beautiful for us to be able to share this together. And I just want to say thank you again, Linda, for allowing us to show up our authentic selves and be of service to all those that we can be of service to. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sanel. I know you were trying to stretch it so you get that music playing. Here we go. First of all, 12 children. Oh my gosh, your mom, more power to her. That's amazing. There was something that you mentioned there. You said, you see that I'm smiling through it. And I believe you were talking about smiling through the obstacles and the challenges and things like that in life. And I think what's beautiful about that is that the more we do tell our story, the easier it gets, the easier that we see that we overcame those things from the past instead of looking at those as like stumbling blocks today. So congratulations on all that. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I really think your story is perfect for the book Sally just dropped in the chat. Yes, I can, and I did. The Power of Perseverance. I think your story would be perfect for that one. And probably all of you would be a perfect fit for that book as well. But Sanel, thank you so much for being here, sharing your message here on International Women's Day. And boy, just keep going. Such an inspiring story.
Thanks, Linda. Thank you so much.
Wow, this is great. I'm loving it. I hope you all are loving it just as much as I am. I love hearing the stories. Even here's the thing that I want to point out here today is that you don't need to have an hour or 2 hours to tell your story. As you're seeing that each lady so far in just a 4-minute period of time has been able to share something that can help us to move forward. It doesn't take your whole life story in order to do that. You pick just one piece out of it. And this is what I love about the collaboration books. You find a theme book. You're like, oh, I can share this part of my story in that book. And then you go forward with it. You just share part of your story. You don't have to share the whole story. So this is what I'm loving about this. I'm learning something from each and every lady so far. And we're going to bring up our next speaker, who I know will not disappoint, Kathy Dirksen. Welcome to the stage. I've known Kathy for several years now. And yeah, I love Kathy. I've known her for several years now and cannot wait to hear what you have to share with us today, Kathy. You have the spotlight and 4 minutes on the clock.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Linda. And I'm so happy to be celebrating International Women's Day with all of you here. And as many of you know, the big focus of everything I do now for the last 10 years has been focused on lifting, encouraging, inspiring women to really step into new possibilities. And 10 years ago, I was in a situation where I was in a toxic marriage. I was in a toxic work environment, and I realized that I couldn't keep going like that. And I describe it that I threw my life up in the air and reinvented it on the way back down. And in part of that process was that thinking about, what am I here to do? What is my thing? My original career was in medical genetics, which I love biology, but I knew there was more. I knew I was supposed to be doing something that impacted women directly, one-on-one. But I knew it had to be something that was an international, on a global scale. I had no idea what that was. And I set out on this journey to figure that out. It did take me a few years, but about 3 years ago, I landed on it. And Linda and Sally and I have been working together since then. And I really realized that sharing our journey, sharing our story, and especially in a way that brings us together in community. I think that women especially, we learn from each other, we are inspired by each other, we become role models for each other. And what I've been seeing over the last while is that I think so many women, especially midlife women, are feeling stuck with this idea of, what am I supposed to do next? You know, we hit our 50s and 60s, and our culture kind of tells us that we're old and we're obsolete and no one really needs us anymore, and that we should go sit in the corner and just be quiet now. And I don't know about you, but that's not what my plan is for the next 30 years. So I'm here to really inspire women to really look at this time in life as a time to figure out what inspires and excites you and go do that. One of my favorite quotes, it's a Howard Thurman quote, and he says, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And to me, that sums up everything that I do. That so many of us are feeling stuck in that feeling that, what am I here for? So I think the more we discover that and the more we realize what makes me come alive and we go do that, that's what is going to shift the world. That is what's going to bring the good back. I believe in the tipping point, that we will tip things going in a direction where it supports all of us. It encourages peace and happiness and health. And I think that midlife women are the people who are going to change that. So the more we work together, the more we lift and encourage each other and act as community, that I think that is what's going to bring that all together. And as I mentioned, I work with Linda, we create books. And yes, we're always coming up with new themes and ideas focused on what really excites and inspires women. So thank you, Linda and Sally, for bringing us all together. And yes, everything I do these days, if it wasn't for Linda, I would not be doing any of this. And many of you would not be here right now. So thank you, guys.
Awesome, Kathy. I love that. I want to make sure I wrote this down right. You said, I threw my life up in the air and I put it together on the way down.
Reinvented it on the way down.
Reinvented it on the way down. I love that. And so I want those who are listening to this to really understand that when we upend our lives, we do land up on our feet, right? Just like a cat. Cat jumps off of a thing, it flips over or whatever, but it always lands on its feet. So you will land on your feet. You may feel like, things aren't going well right now, but just know that even upending it, you will land on your feet. It might take longer than you wanted it to. It might take longer than you expected it to. It might happen quickly. You just never know, but just keep pushing forward and find those supportive, uplifting people. Like Kathy was mentioning, the uplifting, the motivational, these inspiring people in your life. Just, glom onto them and keep going, keep going. Thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your wisdom here and on International Women's Day and every day beyond that. So thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Oh man, this is awesome. I love it. We're going to bring up our next speaker, who is Maiko. Maiko, I saw you unmuted yourself already. And Maiko, I'm so excited to hear what you have to share with us today. You got 4 minutes on the clock, and I'm going to spotlight you and remove myself, and let's go.
Well, happy International Women's Day. So today I wanted to talk about, well, funny enough, my name. So my name is Maiko Sakai, and the topic that I had in mind to share is about worthiness. So here's the truth. Throughout my career, there was this one nagging thing back of my head that kept just poking at me, which was, am I going to be taken seriously? Starting from my name, which is kind of hard to pronounce. It's because I was born and raised in Japan, and I came to the United States when I was 17 as an exchange student. So I kept thinking to myself, am I going to be taken seriously? So that forced me to get more certification or, more education, all those things. Half of my life, I handled that question by pretty much manhandling it. So sometimes I ignored it, and sometimes I kind of pushed harder, worked harder, and none of those things really worked. And I never forget, there was this day when my cover-up was really tested. So more than 10 years ago, I was still in business school, and we invited this personal brand expert. Actually, he's still pretty big over LinkedIn. He said to all of us, if you haven't already, you better secure your domain name under your name. And that was a real test, because I resisted it. I raised my hand and I said, that seems like a selfish, self-promotion, shameless self-promotion. I think that's the word that I was looking for. And he looked at me and said to me straight up, Ms. Sakai, get over it. And everybody laughed in the classroom very nervously. Not because they were laughing at me, they felt the same pressure. So there were three things that I did to overcome it. Well, first of all, I did secure that domain name. I still have it till this day. And that was a huge step. I knew that I had to push myself and do it. But after that, I did three things. Number one, I really got clear on who I really wanted to be. I visualized it. I thought about it. I still think about it. It's ever evolving. So that's one thing that I did. Sometimes, I put a vision board together, or I pick a movie that would kind of resemble, some main character that's in the movie that would inspire me. So that's something that I did. And number two, I raised my standard by speaking clearly. I worked on my blog writing. I worked on my copywriting, all those things to know that I have a voice. And lastly, I checked myself quite often to see who am I being with? What's my environment? Who am I speaking to most of the time? I know that there's this saying about, you're as good as 5 people that you spend your most of your time with. And we all hear that, but we tend to forget. So I try to self-check from time to time, who am I being with? Who do I want to be? And I hope this story inspired you about your worthiness.
Yeah, I'm coming. Wait, there I am. Okay. That was awesome. I love it how you made a decision about your name early on. And then it took somebody else outside of you to help you to see it differently. And I love your name. I think it's awesome. It's just learning how to pronounce it. So, just to make sure we pronounce it correctly, right? That's the challenge I think people have with your name, is how to say it.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of got me to always wonder about, like my worthiness, or like, am I going to be taken seriously or not? And it's an uphill battle, but I'm getting there. So
yeah. Well, you are a woman of worth. And so Sherry Leopold's book, Sherry is here today. She can drop a link to her book, but that may be a book that you can tell your story in, because you were definitely a woman of worth. So thanks so much, Michael, for being here and for sharing your message and what you do and doing what you do. So thank you. Wow, that was our first session of the International Women's Day interviews today. We are going to be dripping out these interviews all throughout the day. So whether you're watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, go watch the interviews throughout the day. We'll also be dropping out reels from the snippets from the videos as well. Thank you all for being here today. Truly appreciate you for showing up, showing out. And like Sherry Leopold says, and for being the unrepeatable miracle that you are. So I'm going to stop the recording for now.